Okay, so well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Diwali Dhamaka battle presented by Vortex Esports. So myself, Eagle, and today we're gonna watch some amazing, exciting matches. But along the side, we would like to go and see which of the teams participating today. And if I talk about some amazing teams, so yes, there are a few amazing teams, almost 16 teams, and it would be a really compact lobby to see around. At the same time, if I talk about the most important thing, that's the reason why actually these teams are fighting. They're fighting for an amazing prize pool of almost like 15,000 rupees just for those 6 matches, which gives you an immense competition to be playing around. Along those side, if I talk about today's schedule, yes, today's schedule would be somewhere around, we would be going against those 3 maps, Wrangel, Miramar and Sanok. And the most important part of the game is about the first map, how actually the first match is going to be like, where actually the players are going to go around, how actually their fights will look like, what's their strategies, what their style, all those things what we look for, to be honest. But yeah, if you are new to the game, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream, and do show your support as well, because your support is something that is really very important to us. And also, if I talk about the game, yeah, the game has been already started, I guess. The players have started to loot, the players have started to play along, and we could see some good fights, we could see some good engagement, we could see some good action over there. On the other end, GVT Jerry, if I talk about this particular player, yeah, with 4 men standing, move in OP, Rashi, 4 men standing, a quite decent lineup, to be honest. He's been playing around. And if I talk about some, specific fights that where we could see some specific fights to be going around, I think Stalber is one of the region where we could see 2 teams, KLBC, along with side. I could also find one more team in front of them. We would love to see that which actual team is out there and how actually they're taking around. Naomi along with side Minzu, Nala, these 4 men standing people. I am very much sure that how actually they would be playing along. But yeah, if I talk about teams, so I'm really sorry, there was a wrong information given from my side. It's actually 20 teams, which creates a lot of more challenges, which create a lot of more troubles, which create a lot of more hassle over here. And you have to actually take those times and then actually understand that how actually these fights are going to be. One more fight coming around the areas, which is team number 17. I could find Step Mommy over there, and yes, the fight has been initiated with a grenade over there. Jasmine with that sweet spot grenade from the window. Mommy has a very vital angle, to be honest. Faith plays over there, having that micro Uzi over there is a very good combination in that close range, to be precise. But along the side, Nala, Namra, Naomi. On the other end, team KLBC, even they are indulging themselves into a new fight coming up. But it's very much important that how actually these fights are being initiated and how actually the actions are being taken place, because the most important thing, it's not only about the finisher's point at the earlier stage, it's also about that how you actually get those place point. You have to keep that balance of place and position both. But right now, what I could find over here, Jasmine has been taken down. This is the initiation, this is the start what I was talking about. It's team number 6, Crystal. Would be really difficult. Katha over there has also been struggling around. She has that momentum right now. The revival would be really very easy. But on to another end, if I talk about KLBC, they are still struggling. They're still struggling to find a way. Vizzy OG over there having a great sweet spot. She can find Namra, and that was a grenade. She dodged well, and she's barely surviving on those few HPs. It's not even visible. But yes, this is what we talk about. This is what we discuss about, that you have to be very careful alongside when you're playing. One wrong move and things could be very vulnerable. Archie Gaming on the other end, we could find some good fight over the Georgiapool region as well. And this is something that we really talk about. This is something that we really engage about. Vizzy OG is trying to take some shots over there. She's trying to create some momentum. One first knock and then a good push. I think that would be really fruitful at this point of the time. But let's see how actually they take over these 2 fights around Mansion. And actually Stalber, are getting very important for every team. But we would like to see a few more fights that have actually other teams other than these two regions are initiating their fights. If I move towards Georgia Pool, yeah, I could see Team TA alongside with GBT Jerry, Zelda, Muffin, Nopi. It's a quite dangerous lineup to be looking around because they have already secured that one finish point in the earliest stage. And if you're getting those earliest finishes point, you get a lot of confidence, and that confidence is really very much required at the same time. It's not very easy to you go with that same momentum, same game style throughout the game. But oh, I could see something more vulnerable over here, to be precise. If I talk about Rafale is over there. We could find some actions. We could find some momentums, to be precise, over there. And this won't be easy. This won't be very, very much easy for all the teams out there. Georgia Pool is still a very difficult region to be taken care of. Georgia Pool is a still difficult region. But the fight around Stalber and Mansions, oh my goodness, this would be really challenging, to be honest. They're actually waiting for their prey to get some more action and get some more fights, to be honest. Team 20 teams, 74 players are there, and it would be really, really challenging. It would be really, really be difficult for the players and the teams to be taken care of. But on the other end, if I talk about other team number 9, yeah, they're at a good position. They're at a good spot. They have got those one finish point. They have got those start, to be honest. And actually, team number 6 is very precise and very lethal right now. Oh, this is the fight which we were talking about. This is the initiation. She has been taken down, and team number 17 is now getting anxious. They are very, very much ready. They're not going to leave any single mark over here. I think one good wrong move and things would be more vulnerable. Let's see how it's gonna going in. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Even if I talk about the rotation, they're actually backing off. They don't want to take any other fight right now. They're looking quite silent, and even the zone, those damage would be very, very unbearable. Those damage would be very, very challenging right now. On the other half, if I talk about team number 15, yeah, they are also having a good, precise location, to be honest, over there. They're holding apart. They're holding hard, to be honest. And yes, this is how actually you should go, like, this is how actually you should move, like, around Miami over there with Mimzu. And we could see some more fights coming in. They're actually waiting for their prey. Some rotations are going in. The rotation clashes which we were talking about. Even those rotation clashes are taking place. Shuwei over there going in harsh. They have lost those 3 players. Oh my god. This is going to be quite challenging. On the other end, if I talk about Team KLBC, they have got those one finish point, but they're still waiting in. I don't know for what, but I don't think so that this fight would be engaged for a longer period of time. If I talk about team number 25, even they are initiating hard. The rotation is not very fruitful. They are having fight with team number 25 along the side, and you have to be very precise. One wrong move, one wrong rotation, things would be vulnerable. Even team number 11, even they are engaging very rightly. If I talk about team number 11 around the Bush Mansions region, yeah, they're looking quite eager to take those fights. They're looking quite attentive to take those fights. He has a pretty decent angle. TRXZ over there. You have to be careful. You have to be careful in that balcony regions. Things won't be that easy. And on the other end, team number 11, even they're having those fights. It's a rotation clash, to be precise, over there as well. Will they take those another fights? Are they ready? They have lost those one player. They have those 2 finishers point, but it wouldn't be that easy. If I talk about Emily on the ground floor over there, trying to figure it out that how actually this fight could be taken. Having those grenades, she has to be very much okay. One good grenade would change the things. It's a 1v1 battle. It's a 1v1 battle. No, it's a 1v2. She has lost that, and now it's Trixie, the last Lone Ranger surviving in the team. Let's see what she can do. No, no, no. It's not going to be that easy. She has lost those battles, but a new battle coming in for team number 11. Actually, they're into a new rotation clash again. And this is what we were talking about. This is what we were discussing about. That one good move could change the things around, and actually it's turning around. Actually it's changing around. Oh my god, oh my god. The whole squad is being eliminated. And yes, if I talk about team number 11, now they're a good position to be taken care of, and now I find they're inside the zone. The new zone shift has been taken around. There were 20 teams, to be honest, and now it's 16. A huge loss of players. A huge loss of players. This is going to be quite difficult. But on the other end, yeah, we could also see some great action coming over here. We could also see some great difficulties faced by the players. Let's see how actually they're gonna play along. Guys, if you are liking the stream, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream with your friends, with your mates, and do show your support as well, because this is something what we don't usually do. But if I talk about Nora FT, yeah, there's a good action coming over there as well. They're very close to their opponents, and they have to be very much ready, to be honest. If I talk about Step Mommy, yeah, you could see some great actions over there as well. New age fight, what we talk about, is also being seen. Nora FT on the other end was having a good fight, having a good game over there. And again, a new rotation has been started. A new battle has been started around those cliff regions. People are taking those early rotation, to be honest. And to be precise, these early rotation can hurt. These early rotation can challenge the players a little bit. You have to be very much engaging at the same time. Let's see how actually these players gonna play. But we are waiting for some fights, and you can support your favorite team. But yes, if we are talking about the fight, there's inculcation. Old Diva, she has actually crushed one player over there, and getting those finishers point in the mid stages is really very important. It's really very much needed. I want to see some one-to-one action. I actually want to see some one-on-one action, that how actually it's going to be taken care of. Around how actually this action gonna play off. Oh, be careful. Both the players has been taken down in one go, and that was something very much impactful. No given time, within a snap they have been eliminated. But it's not the end. It's not the end. Team number 18, they want more. They're actually quite hungry for those finishers point. And there's team number 12 again. They're again rolling in. They tried once for those fight at the earliest phase, but now they feel very slow, steady, and going with that momentum, to be honest. Team number 12. They're in a tough position, but it's a 1v4 for them. To be honest, it's a 4v1. And one wrong move, one wrong start, things things would be more bad. TAK. You could also see this team are also having pretty decent position, but this is not enough team control. Oh, be careful, you have the shotgun. It's under the smoke. That was totally phenomenal. What a beauty. Under the smoke, those shots were taken. It was so precise. How actually you figured that out? This is my question. On the other hand, if I see Isha, yeah, even she is looking quite strong, even she is looking quite attentive, to be honest. And yes, let's see how actually these fights gonna take place, how actually these battle gonna run around. But yeah, over there I could see RJ glitch. Some good fights, some good battles. But yes guys, if you're liking the stream, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream with your friends, with your mates. Do show your support, do show your love as well, because this is really something very important, and that, you know, to be honest, it boosts the moral support of everybody who is, you know, doing all those hard works. But yeah, Isha again having those tough fights on the edge of the cliff. One by one, those action are coming in. The zone is quite small. 14 teams, 46 remaining players. One wrong move, things could be more vulnerable. But TH Poison Myth, I could still find this player. Oh, this is a difficult situation for team number 23. And yes, 23. Now they are in trouble. One by one, they have been eliminated by team THC. I'm sorry, it's TH. And they're actually taking off the game. They're getting those finishers point. Almost 6 finishers point in this particular game. And it's still a long way to go. Can they get that chicken dinner with those almost amazing, almost 5 or 10 finishers point, to be honest? One by one, each team is being eliminated. And if I talk about teams at different position, if I talk about teams at different region, that how actually these teams are performing, so we could see that, you know, it's not very much easy. Some teams are having the advantage of cliff, some are at the higher edge, some are at the lower edge, and making those smoke covers, making those high ridges advantage at the same time. It's not very much easy for every team. You need a right coordination, right complement from every player, actually right inputs as well. But yeah, Rashi on the other end having a good hold, having a good mindset, to be honest. If you hold that cliff very strong, if you hold that house very strong, things would turn around later. But yeah, there's some more fight. Astra has been taken down. If I talk about Millie, yes, Millie on a good position, trying to hold some good position alongside, having a top angle. On the other end, Rashi trying to take some players down from the running vehicle. And yes, you have to be careful. You have to be careful right now. Rashi on the other end, holding in quite tight, holding in quite hard, to be honest. And is it a Dashin? Is it a Dashin coming in? It's team number 9 versus team number 18. On the other end, Millie has been taken down from the vehicle, and that is actually a surprise. She wasn't prepared for that. I don't know from where actually those shots are coming in. A smoke cover has been created. Yuna, she'll touch her and actually revive her very quickly. 11 teams, 35 remaining players. And yes, you have to be careful right now. You have to be very careful, to be honest. One wrong move, things would be more vulnerable. And yes, it is now. It is. Yuna has been taken down. But more players is knocked. Masoom and Defame Fit Dame over there. With that shotgun, she is being unbearable for the opponents. One by one, they have taken the whole squad down. And that was truly phenomenal. The whole squad has been taken down, and it's a new squad coming in. Rashi over there trying to create some smoke covers and create a good cover out of there. But is that so easy? Is that so easy? RJ glitch on the other end, trying to get some more shots, trying to get some more finishes point. And this is not going to be that easy. You have to keep a good hold. You have to keep a good position out there. But along the side, guys, if you are actually enjoying the stream, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream. Team 22, Devu, they're still holding in. They're still holding in quite hard with those positions around there. They have Scarlet, Lucy. They haven't secured any finish point yet, but yes, they're still searching for those early finish points. And that is really very much needed. On the other end, Barbie has been taken down. Baby Mall, KHS are the last few players standing, but I don't think so that they'll survive for a longer period of time. And finally, they have been taken down. It's a pretty compact lobby. 9 teams, 21 remaining players. You have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. Lucy, Millie, one by one. In a difficult situation. But to be honest, 17 players. It is the lobby, it is the competitive lobby what we usually talk about. It's not going to be that easy that how actually you make up the things. You can't expect that the lobby would be really very easy to catch up with. But on the other side, Team TS, they're looking very lethal. 12 points and they're still not stopping. It's a long range battle with that M416 and 6x. And there you go. There you go. That's a beauty what you talk about. That's the game what you are looking for here. Each and every region. GVT Millie again. She's again rolling on. She very much know that how to pull up the game. 4 teams, 10 remaining players. It's a one-on-one battle. It's a one-on-one battle. Defame on the other end. Also having a good cover. It's team number 11 on the other side. They have to be careful at the same time. This is what we were looking for. Some long-range battle in the end zone. Duty has been taken down. Millie, the last lone ranger surviving for the team. Let's see what she can do. 3 teams, 8 remaining players. You have to be quite careful. You have to be quite alert right now. One wrong move, things would be taken down. Trying to find some great angle over there. Panda. That's a great spray coming out. Millie out of nowhere. Giving some surprises to team number 19. Under the smoke again and again. She's been fantastic right now. But on the other end, if I talk about team GVT, even they're looking lethal. They're having those 10 finishes point, and they have to take battle with Team Frag because they're also having 13 finishes point, which is not very easy to be taken care of. You have to be quite alert. You have to be quite attentive at this point of the game. Trying to rotate the vehicle. Millie going here and there. It could be a tough battle. Spray on the running vehicle. They're trying to know the position. 3 team. 6 alive players. Battles here and there, trying to find actually where the shots are coming from. And it's team GVT. I want to see that which is actually a last lone ranger, and there you go. That was the final spray which we were talking about. To be honest, we actually look for those finishes point at the earliest phase, and yes, we got those finishes point to be precise. But not only finishes point, the way team GVT played, the way team THC played, a combination of finish point and the place point to be precise. It wouldn't be that easy for them, but yes, the way they pulled it off, that was really very great. But along the side, what do you guys have to do? You guys have to show your love. You guys have to show support your favorite team in the chat section, that how much you enjoy the game, how actually you like the game, what team you are supporting, which player actually you are supporting on. This was the first game for the day. There are 2 more games coming up, but the most exciting thing is we have Miramar and Sanok coming in. The map of deserts, the map of snakes are still there. We are very much excited for that. Stay tuned and we'll be joining you guys soon. Okay, so well, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome back you again to Diwali Dhamaka battle presented by Vortex Esports. Myself, Eagle, and alongside we have completed the first match of the day, which was in the map of Wrangle. Well, if I talk about the second match, it will be in the map of Miramar, the map of deserts. But before running into that, I would like to go for today's schedule, that how actually today's schedule looks like. If I talk about the first game, yeah, it's Wrangle, which we have already completed. The second game is of Miramar, and the third will be of Sanhok, the map of chaos, the map of snakes, and I'm really very excited for that match as well. But if I talk about the prize pool of today's these 2 days, the first champions will get 5,000 rupees, runner-up will get 3,000, and second runner-up will get 1,500. Along the side, if I talk about the point system, well, that is also very much required. We all know that the point system is the traditional point system, what we follow. The first position will get 10 and 8 6 sorry 10 6 5 4 3, alongside how it goes. But yeah, the most important fly path, that how actually the fly path is going to look like, which is the most important thing to be precise. So yeah, if I talk about the fly path, somewhat the fly path looks like this. No, to be precise, yeah, this is the plane, and now how actually the fly path is going to look like. But before that, if you haven't liked the stream, if you haven't subscribed the channel, please do go that and do support as well. But yeah, if I talk about the fly path, starting from the northeastern part of the region, ending on the southwestern part of the region, El Pozo would be the really important location. San Martin, PowerCride, Montenuevo is just above the fly path. If I talk about Pecado, which is the heart of Miramar, it is really very important that how actually people glide around there, even Chumakira and Valdemar. It's really very important to see those regions as well. But along the side, guys, which is the most favorite location in the game of Miramar? Please do comment in the live section. But yeah, we'll quickly move towards the fights, where actual fights are really taking place. We'll quickly see that how actually these fights are growing around. If I talk about the first fight, so yeah, it's team number 13 having that micro Uzi. They have a drop clash. Let's see how actually they're gonna counter that drop clash. To be very honest, drop clashes are always very chaotic, and I definitely avoid those drop clashes, because I don't think you get a lot of things. If you lose the whole match, so it's better that you have a good loot. And hot drop clash would be more difficult and more challenging as well. Let's see how actually these players gonna play along, how actually these players are thinking around. So it wouldn't be that easy, it wouldn't be that important for the players to be going around. But if I talk about the other teams who are here, even they have a perfect location, even they are gliding around and taking those safe drop clashes, safe drop location, to be honest. Let's see how actually these fights going to be taken place. GVT, Masoom, it's not very easy for them to be going around. It's not very much easy for them to be taken around. Let's see. There's the fight coming in. Jasmine OG taking those shots, biting around and having those fights. You have to be very much precise. You have to be very much alert at this point of time. One player is almost offline. One wrong move, one wrong decision would actually create a lot of chaos over there. But at the same time, guys, if you are liking the stream, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream with your friends, with your mates, and do show your support as well. 9S Crystal still waiting in for the right time. You have to be very careful, you have to be very alert. Let's see. GVT Millie again jumping around. They're not having those weapons right now. They're not having those abilities right now. Team number 20 through Chiku. You could see Chiku Chake, EY Lunan, Puchandi, 4 men standing. They also have a quite good position. They also have a quite good region to be there. And you have to be very much alert. You have to be very much alive, to be honest, at this point of the time. But on the other end, if I talk about the southern part of the region, yeah, Archie Gaming with those 4 men standing, Kuhunuhu, Vizzy, Chitty Plays. They actually played a very great game in the last match, and I'm eager to see that how actually they're gonna play in this game, because this wouldn't be that easy, this wouldn't be that doable. TA Blackie on the other end with 4 men standing. They are not having those finishers point right now, to be precise. They are looking very steady, very stable, but there's one more fight coming in. There's one more battle that is actually coming in. And it's team number 8. They're looking quite aggressive at this point of the time. It's not gonna be very easy for them to be taken care of. It's team number 21. It's a 1v1 battle. One wrong move, one wrong game, and things would be totally taken on. Let's see. Actually, are they ready for the fight? Actually, are they very much progressive enough? They're waiting. They're waiting for the right time. They're waiting for the right turn, to be honest. And I think this is the moment. This is the moment. Archie Gaming, she has a momentum. But I think she has lost it. She was having a quite good angle over there, trying to get some amazing shots. But it wouldn't be that easy. It wouldn't be that replicated every time. Even if I talk about the other teams over there, it's team number 10. They're having a quite good position, having that S12K with that Scarl. You have to keep that position. You have to keep that holdability alongside. Avni is still waiting in. It's team number 13. They've already lost those 2 players. The last 2 Lone Rangers are surviving. And they have to keep a good calm. But there's a new fight coming in. There's a new fight rolling in. Vizzy OG over there, trying to get some shots. Azara on the other end has been taken down. Amazing fights from different regions have been rolling in. And on the other end, NPH, even they are having some good battles. They are looking in some tough situations. Indians trying to figure it out with how actually these fights could be taken around. But it's not that easy. Vizzy on the other end with that vehicle trying to move in and actually trying to eliminate that last Lone Ranger surviving. But here's some crossfire. Here's some crossfire coming in. IMK dude, she is quite far. And Hridaya, she's that Lone Ranger surviving over there. She is having that trouble. It's a 1v2 situation, to be precise. And you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. Hridaya, the shots have been taken. Vizzy OG on the other end. She's trying to do whatever is possible. And yes, she does that. That was actually a good game. That was actually a good fight, to be precise. 1 by 1. Almost players are getting eliminated. But if I talk about the current situation, it's 20 teams and 70 remaining players. And yes, this is what we actually talk about. The game should be quite competitive. The more competitive the game is, we enjoy it like that. On the other end, if I talk about team number 6, they're actually having a good battle. They're actually having a good fight over there as well. Even team number 24, I can find a rotation clash with team number 6 over there. Uh-oh. It's a new battle. It's a new fight coming in. It's Lisa taking those shots, and one by one from those surprise angles, players are trying to roll in. And yes, they've got those finishers punches. The whole squad which have been eliminated, and it was totally a surprise. Team number 9, they've lost those three players, which is actually not a good news. And team number 24, one player is offline. They're trying to carry her as much as possible. Crystal, the last lone ranger surviving from the team. Even they are trying to figure it out, that what better could be. And yeah, I think now she's very much online. Scooby R6 on the other end. She is also having a good hold right now. Minus Crystal positioning it for the best. I think she's giving some tough surprises at the moment. Team number 22 on the other end, they're ready for the surprises. I think so. They're not ready for these surprises, because this is going to be quite difficult for them. This is going to be quite challenging for them. One by one, those tackles, those shots are being delivered. Ledger NPH. Well, this team is quite troubling to everybody. Every team out there. Though in this particular match, they haven't secured those finishers point till now. But it's quite challenging to stop them. The way they play off, the way they pull off the things. This is not very easy. This is not very doable for them to be taken care, to be honest. But yeah, guys, at the same moment, if you are enjoying the stream, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream with your friends, with your mates, and do show your support as well, because your support is something that is really very required to us. If I talk about the other few teams, that how actually these teams are playing, yeah, to be honest, right now it's quite difficult for each and every team out there. One wrong move, things would be totally vulnerable. Let's see the map once, how actually these rotations are being taking place, what's the new zone coming in, and I think that would be much better to understand that how actually these players are thinking, how actually this battle would run around. So if I talk about the zone, it's moving towards San Martin, Monte Nuevo. These regions are quite actually good, to be precise. But yeah, one wrong move, one wrong decision, things could be more vulnerable, and we'll actually wait to see that how actually this fight can be taken care of. If you look at the current situation, the zone is slowly shifting towards the right hand side, and that is quite, I'll say, not very open up. That is quite not very much required. But yeah, coming back in the game, coming back towards the fights, that how actually these fights will be opened up by every team out there. This is our actual motto to understand around. It's not gonna be that easy, but yeah, look at the way they are playing around. You have to be quite careful, you have to be quite attentive and alert. Scooby on the other end, trying to figure it out at how actually these fights will roll it out. Team Trog, they're still waiting in for the right turn. They're still waiting for the right moment. Step Mommy, Talia DC, all of them are in the same flow, same momentum. One wrong move, things would be quite difficult, but some shots have been taken, and yes, it's Step Mommy has been taken down. 3 players are still standing, and one by one, those difficulties are being faced. You have to be quite alert. You have to be quite attentive at this point of the game. Talia DC has also been taken down. Faith plays on the other end. She's not looking in a good position. There's a storm for a few other teams. If I talk about the Ledger, she's looking in a quite difficult position. It's not very much doable for the team and for the players. But yeah, you have to be alert and you have to be attentive on the other end. We could see few more battles coming in, few more new stages of game coming in. And this is what this game is all about. This is what we talk, what we look for. Faith plays on the other end, having a great position. Be careful, be careful. One wrong move, things will be quite difficult. And yes, he does that. He does that beautifully. Doesn't convert it into a knock. But yeah, I'll really appreciate the game, the way they are pulling it off. Wizzy OG on the other end. They're actually looking in good trouble. It's a 1v1. It's a 1v1 battle. It's not a 1v, it's a 1v2 battle. Trying to figure it out. Faith plays. She had to keep those faith in herself. But she tried the level best. And it's a revival from Nala on the other end. And even Wizzy, a jump shot. Nala to in trouble. Each sector of the game is having those trouble. We would love to see this in a double POV, that how actually this one-on-one battle is looking like. Those push going in. Nala still waiting in. Kuhu Noob trying to find out the position. Wizzy at the back end with those Molotovs over there. And Chitty plays on the windows. It's a 1v3. The Molotov has hit Nala. It's a 1v3. Surviving on this barely 30 HP. It's a back hit. Chitty plays has been taken down. She takes down the player. And yes, it's a win-win situation. GVT. Masoom, which we were talking about, she is been taken down. But yeah, coming down to Team 8, they have actually rolled it out. They have actually played it quite well. Some good fights, some good action. And guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please don't forget to show love. Scooby, again taking those fights in the mid-range on Miramar. Yes, look at those fights. Those are quite disturbing for the team. Trog, I think it's a not good position for him. It's a not good position for her, to be precise. But yeah, a lot of team has been eliminated. A lot of players has been taken down. Trog, Nenu still trying to figure it out at what could be the best position. Stage 4, 13 teams. It is 36 remaining players. And one by one, each players are facing those troubles. Each players are facing those challenges. NPH Barbie with that DPS, trying to still figure it out that what could be the best position to take the opponents out. And yes, that was quite surprising. It was a 1v2 actually. Leader NPH is also trying to figure it out. With that Scarel, she hits one. Getting back, trying to figure it out at what could be done over here. She's taking one by one all the players down. Will she able to clutch it out? This is the question arising. Having those position, having those hard angles over here. The last Lone Ranger of team number 18. Oh, I think she's on the verge. It's a 30 HP versus 0 HP. Oh, yeah, she does that. She does that. Legendary and PH with that 1v2 clutch. Pulled it off. What an amazing game. But Scarlet, she's still there for that surprise. Those aggressive angles will surely help over there. Chitty plays. Having the grenade, those bombarding at the right position is really very required. Few good knocks wouldn't help you around. You have to convert those knocks into the finisher's point as well with that M416 and EMP45, the perfect combination what we look for in the close range and the long range battle. But yes, they're pushing and they're looking very aggressive, trying to loot, get some ammos as well. This game is going quite insane. 7 teams, 17 remaining players. You have to be very much alert. You have to be very much attentive. One wrong move. Things would totally turn around. Catty! Oh my god! What actually she's doing? Having no weapons, no vest, no meds, nothing, just with a sickle over there she's moving around. If anyone finds her, I think it would be totally done and dusted for her, I think. Nothing to defend, nothing to do. Lia's R6. Over there. Our teammate, Fizzy, having a good position. Those top angles would surely help. 6 teams. 16 remaining players. She's having quite good position under the smoke, taking those shots. This is what we were talking about. Vizzy is getting curious. Those good shots are always very much remembered, but how will they actually pull off? This is the surprise what I was talking about. It's Katu. She took down Vizzy and now Kuhu is going around her. It would be a 1v1 battle and I would really love to see that how actually these surprises are coming in. How actually these battles are coming in. Let's see Katu. Again Kuhu Nab, and yes! Katu has been taken down and she's now trying to do pan. Kuhunab, she pulled it off very nicely, but is the revival going on? Yes. Liza is reviving Asher alive, but again out of the zone. It's again a 1v1 battle coming in. Kuhu takes her down. Let's see. It's a third party. Is it a fourth party? No, Chitty plays. It's a 1v3. Oh my god! She pulls it off. An amazing 1v3. And not only this, it is almost 9 solo finishes point. Of course, she is going to be that MVP. Astral comes, pulls it off. That was a fourth party. And now 2 teams in front of each other. Within a snap, the whole lobby has been cleared. Astral Raji has been taken down over there. It's a 3v2 battle. 2 teams, 5 remaining players. Let's see which team's gonna pull it off. A very difficult situation. A very troubling situation. You have to be quite alert. You have to be quite attentive. A 3v2 situation rolling in. One wrong move. And I think it would be done and dusted. There you go. The way they pulled it off was truly fantastic. It's Team Astral, Team TAKZ. And that wouldn't be easy. That wouldn't be totally easy. The way they actually pulled it off was totally not expected. It was a great game coming out. The map of Miramar always comes with a lot of surprises, a lot of chaos, to be honest. But this game was something else. This game, the way the MVP player with those 9 finishes point, those clutches, those 1v3, those 1v2 clutches, I think that made the game more chaotic. But yes, this was the second game. I already gave that disclaimer that the map of Miramar would be much more engaging and much more entertaining, but I'm giving a disclaimer again. The map of Senog always comes with a lot of surprises. Those bushes, those grasses, those snakes will actually turn the game around, and we call the map of Senog map of comebacks. Let's see which team gonna come back. Stay tuned, we'll be coming back soon. Okay, so well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Diwali Dhamaka presented by Vortex Esports. Myself, Eagle, and this is gonna be the third match of the day, and I'm really very excited for the match because whenever we talk about the chaos, we always remember about Sanhok, and yes, this is the map of Sanhok. Talking about the map schedule, the first match, Wrangler and Miramar is done. Second match, Miramar is done, and third, Sanhok is also very much done. So yeah, now we would be moving towards the second uh, third match of the day. I'm so sorry. And if I talk about the fly path, that is really being needed very much right now. It's really very much important for the players, for the teams, everyone out there, because Sanhok is a pretty decent map, to be precise. One wrong move, one wrong mistake, and everything could be changed around. But yeah, I am still very much eager to see that how actually these things gonna turn around, how actually these play gonna turn around. But I think there's some technical issue. We are still in the map of Miramar, to be precise, but yeah, we had seen the fly path, that how actually it is going like, how actually these battles are looking like. So before that, if you haven't liked the stream, if you haven't subscribed the channel, please do so, because that is really very important for us. Your love and support, that is really very needed to us. If I talk about the fights, we couldn't see some early fights, but we are really very excited to see those drop clashes, those early clashes, how actually these teams gonna fight. Camp Charlie is one of the places where we are seeing a drop clash, where we are seeing some players are engaging themselves in those earliest class possible. Oh, Senki, yeah, a good precise name, very good name. Let's see how actually how much they are actually ready for those early battles, how much actually they're ready for those early fights to be taken care of. She's been taken down. Faith plays the last long range, surviving for the team. Let's see what she can do. No, the whole team is being eliminated, and you didn't got a lot of chance. So yeah, it wasn't very good, it wasn't very doable for the players, but anyhow, you have to manage the things like that only, and you have to figure it out, that what is best for your team. But still, the way things are moving on, the way players are playing around, you are in a quite critical situation, to be honest. Let's see how actually the things will turn around. But yeah, I would love to see the zone in the map. How actually players are playing along, what actually their strategies looks like, how actually they are thinking, how actually they are playing, and more things to be taken care in the same precise location. But yeah, at the same time, guys, if you haven't liked the stream, if you haven't subscribed the channel, please do so, because that is really very much needed. But yeah, looking at the current condition, it's not a great move, it's not a great game, because if I look at the current situation, if I talk about northern parts, it's quite clusterized. Northern part is quite disturbed, to be honest. It could be much better in the upcoming times. We could see a lot of fights, lot of clashes in the Paradise Resort. So you have to be quite careful, you have to be quite alert at the same time. RG if I talk about this particular player, she is looking in a good position, good condition to have some amazing engaging fight. But yeah, Camp Bravo, it is also one of the location where we could see some action coming in play, where we could see some good game coming out of the region. 19 teams, 73 remaining players, and you have to be very much alert. Team number 23, if I talk about this particular team, no finishes point, 19 teams, 73 remaining players. And yes, this is how actually you play, this is how actually you think like, and which is really very important at the same time. FLICKA on the other end, the Lone Ranger surviving for the team, is not in a good condition, is not in a good hold. But yeah, you precisely have to be very much alert, you precisely have to be very much doable. On the other end, we could see some action coming in. Yes, it is, there's a rotation clash coming in play. One wrong move, things would be vulnerable, and it is looking like that. A terrific trio fight, 3 multiple teams from 3 different locations. Which team will get into third parties and get those finishers points? This is the question arising. Luan on the close range, trying to engage and have those early picks. One wrong move, one wrong start, and things would be quite vulnerable. And there you go, there you go. They have got those opening knocks, what we were talking about. They have got those early starts, what we were talking about. And yes, it wouldn't be that easy. Core, he's been taken down. The last lone standing glitch has been also taken down. It's time for the third party, to be honest. A new team has arrived. We have to be very, very much ready. NPI on the other end. They're also moving with the same momentum. They're also moving with the same holdability. Let's see. Let's see what their strategy looks like. What their game look like. Moving in, moving with that intensity, moving in with that holdability. You have to be very much alert. But in the chat section, guys, do show your love, do show your support as well, because that is very much required. Team number 20 on the other end, looking very, very cautious. And team number 18, Trog, they performed really very well in the last match, but this game is also really very important because one wrong move, things would turn around. NPH, they performed really well in the first game, but now they're in a good condition. But M249, the poetry of M249 was truly phenomenal. A machine gun in the power. But this is not it. There's team number 20 also, are trying to engage themselves in a new fight coming in. And I feel it is not very, very much easy for every team out there. To be honest, one wrong move, one wrong decision could take you around. And the way players are putting all their efforts, the way the players are pulling it off, you have to be ultra ready. You have to be very, 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 very much precise. Some good shots are being taken down. We could see some good battles. We could see some good actions out there. But this is not it. Lexa Gaming. At the same time, NPH Barbie. They're also having some good fights and good action coming in play. But yeah, you have to keep that balance. You have to keep that balance of finishers point and place point at the same time. If you are just going for this placement points, I don't think it's going to be working out for a longer period of time. But yeah, there's a fight coming in. It's a multiple fight coming in play. Lexa Gaming over there has been taken down. The last Lone Ranger surviving team, Vibe Bella. You can see that there. Oh, that's a good shot. Mid-range battle is always fun to watch. But right now, Trog, they performed ultra well, but now they are looking in trouble. 2 players are down. They're down to 2 men. NPH Bobby having that flow, having that momentum. Isn't that easy? Vibe Bella on the other range. They are trying to interrupt and get those third parties. Let's see, let's see. Will Trog be able to turn it around? No, it's a third party coming in. It's team number 16 in play, and Trog, the last Lone Ranger, is still surviving. It's Evelyn. Holding it up, holding it hard. The whole squad has been eliminated. But now, the revival, that is really important. Team number 16, they luckily got those 2 finishes point. But that wouldn't be enough. It's a long game going in. NPH on the other end, in Painan, trying to figure it out at what they could do. And Team Trog, they're back to 3 men strong. They were about to get eliminated. But now they're back to 2 men strong. This is the question what we were talking about. One wrong move and things would turn around. They though are looking at in a good condition, but there you go. NPH, Ayana with that grenade. Will she able to defend the team? The last 2 Lone Rangers surviving. They don't have a start. It could be a surprise location, but not for a long time. I think those Free Fire has now revealed her position. It's a one-on-one battle. P Mioxy on the other end, having that good hold, having that good position. Let's see how actually they're gonna fight around with the DBS on the one side. And on the other side, 1 has been taken down, 2 has been taken down. It's a 1v1 battle again coming in. It's looking like a 1v4. Will she able to do that? This is the question rising. Panda on the other end is very close. She also knows the position of Ayana. It's going to be the 1v4 clutch, maybe. DBS, the lethal weapon. DBS, the giant, in the hands of Ayana is looking very difficult, but they're at the other side. Panda is going for that revival. Oh my god, it's a surprise. It's a 1v2 again, but no. Anyhow, they pulled it off. Team number 11, they're back in the game with a blast. 4 finishes point, and now finally Panda does that 1v3. That is the most important question coming out here. She anyhow manages to save her team and does whatever it's required. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the stream, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe the channel, share the stream, and do show your love as well. Talking about Team GVT, well, it's Yuna, Millie, and all of the players over there with a great game coming in. And we would love to see that how actually they're gonna play along, how actually they're gonna look along in this particular match, because this match wouldn't be that easy for every team. The last map of the game, Sanhok always comes with those chaos, always comes with those struggles and those challenges. But the most important thing, how you pull it off, how you take the challenges. This is the question rising. One wrong move, things would be more difficult. GVT with those rotations coming in very close to their enemy. Team IMK, even they haven't secured good finishes point over there. They also been struggling a bit. Hridaya, they'll try to find a better way. Duty on the other end, PE. Every team out there will try to replicate the last game the way they played. They wanted to survive till the last and then figure it out that what best could happen. Moving in slowly. Team GVT very much close towards their enemies. Very close towards their enemies. They're waiting in for the right time. They're waiting for the right moment. Dora, a small peek over there would create a lot of trouble. You have to be very much alert. She's waiting in hard with that hard scope angle. And at the other end, Archie Gaming. She's also having a good position. She's also having a good fight over there. Holding in hard, team number 8. With those 4 finishes point. There you go. The fight which we were talking about is taking place finally. And this is what we were talking about. You are just 1 knock away. 1 knock and things would turn around. And this is what it is happening. Team number 11 not in a good position, but team number 7, Team GVT, again with that grenade coming in. You have to keep that hold. You have to keep that composure right now. Masoom holding in for the right position. Dora. Finally Masoom will finish it off. Take that finish very nicely with those 7 finishes point into the backpack. Plays over there. Also having a good position. Also having a good location out there. GT plays. Masoom holding hard on Hridaya. I don't think that he'll battle will run for a longer period of time. GVT is winning that fight very easily, but yes, 13 teams, 45 remaining players. Team TA still holding it up, still holding it hard. GT plays still waiting for the right turn, right moment. Everywhere we could see those action, those fights, those battles coming in play. And yes, this becomes really very important. This becomes really very challenging for players and teams, that how actually they're gonna pull the game after there is no man advantage. This is the toughest part of the game, what we always talk about. Team number 24 still going in with that flow. Everybody will move inside the zone, try to find a better place, try to find a better position out there, and then go in, and then understand that how actually the things will turn around. But right now, team number 24 moving in. Team number 16 having that good position, having that good areas, is always feasible for men standing with those 2 finishes point. And Archie, finally she is coming up. She's coming up with some good balance. And let's see what it'll take up to. Pixfit holding it hard. Team number 23 is very much up front. Those grenades will play a very important role right now over here. Let's see how they're gonna pull it off. But there's another region. Lisa, she's in a troubling situation. Those grenades, those throwables are making it more hard. Mad Max over there, still trying to figure it out that what could be better. Chitty plays on the other edge, trying to get those knocks on both sides. Those grenades bombarding has been done. Team 24 having a height advantage, taking one player down in the counter. Mad Max has been taken down one by one. They're looking in quite trouble. For how much more long time they can pull it off? This is the question. Surviving. Chitty plays again, moving with that M416. Astro Life having that height advantage will always give that position. Kuhu, that last Lone Ranger surviving for the team outside the zone. I don't think this clutch will be possible, and yes, it isn't. They pulled off it very nicely. Team T on the other edge is looking in a new fight, looking for those heal battles, but I don't think so they have that much heal. I don't think so they can pull it off. GVT onto the other edge. GVT. Now they'll try to interrupt in each and every fight because they have those man advantage, what we were looking for throughout the game. Cherry Myth, they're still waiting in. They're still going in with that same effort and same holdability. Team Fame on the other edge, waiting in for the right turn, waiting in for the right momentum. Cherry Myth, she's also holding it apart. You have to go it like that way. One wrong move. GVT. GVT, you are in trouble. It's Mercy Myth. It's Mercy Myth taking those shots, and GVT is not in a good position to handle 7 teams, 21 remaining players. The lobby is getting totally clusterized. You can totally see in the live status as well that how actually players are troubling each other. Oh, Mary's been taken down. Now it's all up to Saloni. GVT, they're giving a tough fight. And if I look at team number 25, they're looking quite silent right now. I don't know why. They've got those 3 finishes point and they're quite silent. And they're waiting for the right turn. This is the question what we were talking about. Astrolasics getting those shots very rightly. Couldn't find him under the bushes. Team number 19, he is very much visible. 6 teams, 16 remaining players. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There you go. Saloni Myth on the other end getting those shots very nicely. Oh, she's been spotted. Now she's been finally spotted. Both the players. Team TH is now down to 2 men. Team number 19, we're rolling out. They're looking in trouble. There you go. It's Astral AG getting those shots fluently like a poetry. Barely surviving those 10 HP. Will she able to survive? This is the question arising, and she barely manages that. Team TH, Cherry Myth, the last lone region surviving for the team. 4 teams, 10 remaining players. This is going to be quite troubling. Cherry Myth again with those beautiful shots coming down there. GVT Millie. Let's see how she can pull it off. PLF. Even they have a perfect position. Coming under the smoke, trying to figure it out at what actually could be done. And this becomes quite difficult, to be honest. 3 teams, 6 remaining players. And it's a 1v1 battle. If I talk about PLF, they also know the position. TH Cherry on the other end. They're also waiting, and this could be a surprise attack given by Casino to GVT. because position of Casino is not compromised yet. Moving slowly, anyhow manages to come inside the zone. And I guess Millie, she knows the position. She knows the position very well. Everybody is visible. Casino. Oh, there you go. I think it's such a container coming very quickly. Cherry Myth, the last Lone Ranger surviving for the team, cannot manage this for so long. And there you go. This is how the game is ending. This is how the battle is ending. And GVT, the way they pulled it off was truly, truly fantastic. This is what we were talking about, that you have to keep that hold, you have to keep that man advantage in the map of Senok. Then only you can turn around the game, and this is how GVT does that. Not only in this match, if I talk about the last game also in the map of Miramar or Erangel, the way they played it off with all the teamwork, with all the enhancement and great coordination between themselves was truly fantastic. But this is the day end. We have completed the 3 matches, Erangel, Miramar and Sanok, but there's still more 3 left, which we'll be covering on tomorrow. But yes, along the side, guys, enjoy. It's Diwali Dhamaka. Happy Diwali to everyone. We'll be coming back tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, take care and keep supporting.